All right, guys. So, welcome to the design session here. Um, we are going to create a POAP badge, and we'll be able to see how it's done and what is the thinking process and everything. So, first, I'm just sharing my work progress with you. So, I
I'm
expect you
busy,
to have
busy.
a bit of basic knowledge with the Photoshop and layers and everything. So, as you can see, this is at 4K, 3840 and 2160. I created this. And now we start with creation of a POP badge, which is always circular in nature. So we start with the vector, lipstone. The size doesn't matter right now. Maybe we just call it 14 and 40.
Gracias. Saludos.
So we call this our area where we'll be working with POAP badges. And we can make the background a little neutral so it doesn't clash with the artwork here. So I want to share some of the stuff that I downloaded before the class and before this session, so I can show you what they are.
I'm busy, I said.
Hear some voices in the background.
Yeah, but hang on a second, mate. Ethan Church, can you mute everyone?
I don't have access to it, otherwise I would.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to start muting or removing people if
Funk,
people can't self mute.
Funk, you've got a lot of background noise, mate. Could you please mute? Thank you.
Much better.
Sorry about that, Rit.
All right, all good. So now we can concentrate. So whenever I work, I usually take a couple of things into factor. One is
Real quick, sorry to interrupt you. We're
That's
maxed out
that's
on
good
this
movie.
this stream, so there's people that can join but can't watch the stream. So I'm not able to watch the stream. When I put watch stream, it says sorry, the stream is the max number of viewers. So some people are going to be left out.
okay. How
I
do we
don't
fix
like.
this?
I don't like
I mean,
movies.
it is what it is. So we really can't do anything. So I mean, maybe I don't know if somebody's recording it.
Yeah, we've got Ferb recording the background. I do believe he can see the stream.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if anybody can't see it, I guess we'll view it on YouTube and when this is over. I guess I don't know.
All right. Okay. So whenever I create a POEP badge, I usually consider a couple of things into account. So first is the light. What is the source of light? Where is the light coming from? Second is the texture. What is the texture of the surface? Because light reacts in a certain way on different textures in different light conditions. And then the third thing is what is the composition about? What is the badge about? What are we creating? What is the ideation process? How are we reaching at those certain things? Then the fourth is the art style. So here you really have to be observant about your world around you. You have to see what looks good, what feels right, or why something looks more pleasant in a way. So all it comes down to is a proper color combination. It's all about creating harmonious shape. It's about repetition. It's about different harmonious collaborations of different shapes and objects that come together and fit a piece of picture together, if I can put it that way. So textures, lights, idea, what is the idea behind it, and the art style, which is like what exactly are we creating. So I decided for this certain badge, we'll be doing something that's related to um, design and art and what happens when they mix up. Because as we all know, left side of our brain is more logical. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the right side is more dreamy, which is more creative, more artistic. And usually when you design, you have to make sure that best of both worlds are met. So when I'm designing something, I'm not a digital artist by profession. I'm a UX designer, UI designer, and their things are completely different. Their beauty doesn't matter. Their function matters the most. In a POAP badge, however, things are a bit different because you are given much more creative freedom. You can play with textures. There's no science or no rules that applies here. Sometimes you do have to contain certain letters, but that's about it. So having said that, I'm going to quickly show you how we first create textures. So usually I have this circular object which I created um, by just clicking on this tool. It is called ellipse tool. The shortcut is U. You just create a tool, and while you create the tool, hold shift so it comes out perfect. Okay, so this is what I did here. And I also aligned it to the grid. So if I move it around, as you can see, these pink lines, these are like guidelines that appear when the object is perfectly in the center. What I want to do here, I want to build upon this layer. So you can see on the left side, maybe you'll have it on the right side, but this is how my Photoshop looks like because I work on Figma and Figma have layers on the left. So somehow I'm more driven towards this side of things. So we have layers here, and consider layers as clean glass slides. You can put anything on those layers, and all these different layers together, they create something. So one layer could be just the name, other layer could be the light, the other layer could be the background, other layer could be texture. And all these layers together, they form a composite. And this is the composite that we finally see as a POAP badge. So these are the different layers. This is the background layer, the gray one. This is the ellipse layer, the one we created. And now I'm going to add a texture layer, which I have downloaded before, and I collected. I create exactly a fixed size, which is bigger than the eclipse itself. I press enter to place it. As you can see, you can just see a bit of details. I'm not sure how's the compression acting, but if I zoom in, you can see these textures, which are very evident on the canvas. So, but this texture is square. How do I fit it in within that circle? So I just click on this and I press Command Option G, and all that texture is simply contained within that circle. This is a thing called masking, and this is a very common technique. That's how we show a certain part of images, and we also hide a part of image. So best practices would be to, anytime you create a mask, always create a group, because anything you place inside the group, at least you know they're contained together. So I select these two layers and I press Command G, and they just simply group up here. All right, so we have a texture created now, and now we want to add some depth to this texture. How can we do that? We can do that by adding shadows. We can do that by adding objects that are a bit dimensional in their nature. So let me go back to some of the resources I have created. Okay, before that, my idea here would be to represent the clash of logical side and the creative side of your brain. I was mentioning the left side being logical and the right side being more artistic. So whenever I'm creating something, whenever I'm designing something, my first tendency is to make it look nicer. But then at the same time, I'm uh, restricted by the fact to definitely analyze what exactly is the design going to be used for. So if it's something very functional, where the clutter does not affect your functionality. For example, if the book was super colored, you wouldn't like to read it, you'll be distracted by the colors of the book. That's why pages are extremely white and the letters are black, just to keep you non-distracted. So this is what's always the fight between a proper UX designer and also being an artist at the same time. So sometimes I would really like to express myself and go crazy with the concepts. At the same time, I also have to make sure that it's functional, it works. So using this baseline, I wanted to create a clash, or let's say a sync or a harmony between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. And how I do it is the idea here. So first I created a layer, which is a canvas layer, and I'm going to drop some colored brush strokes onto that. So all of these different assets that you're seeing here, they're all downloaded from freepik.com. I have a premium membership there, so I can download them without any licensing issues, and anyone can do the same. So for example, this is the, I'm just gonna double click it, it's gonna open. This is a texture, I realize it works for a certain part. So I'm gonna select this texture, but if I select everything, you can see the white portion is selected as well. Now this is a vector program, it's an Illustrator, and I need to get rid of this white portion. So I just keep clicking on it, and now as you can see, this is a vector object and it can be easily separated out from the background. So here I just press Command C, I copy this whole thing, I come back to Photoshop, I drop that by Command V, and it asks me, do you want to paste it as smart object, pixels, path, or shape layer? I usually say smart layer, smart object, because I like this ability to go back and edit it in Illustrator if I want to. So I simply add it as smart layer. I hold my option key while I'm dragging it out, so it's scaling up perfectly. So for example, I just bring it, let's say, now this is also a bit on your composition style. The way I am seeing it, like I want to have this top half with colors which are depictive of the creative mind, and the lower half more mechanical, more gears oriented, more functional in a way. So let's say, okay, this somehow looks good so far. I press enter to place it. Now you see this is outside the group. I mean, this is inside the group, but it's not within the circular mask. So guess what happened? This is the texture, this is the paintbrush. So I need to move it up a layer. So now it started to show up like this. But wait, there's a problem. The problem is, if you look carefully, the paint simply looks placed on the top. It doesn't have any connection with the texture. And these are the small details that you must see when you're creating something. Details are everything in a design process or in an art process. So for example, here you cannot possibly see the textures on the paint. So what I do, I just double click the layer, and this panel comes in. Okay, this is, everyone who works with Photoshop must be aware of this. This is a very common panel. I come here to the blending options. This is the first thing that's already selected, and I try to play with either this, which is like, as you can see, I go to multiply, and then you can see through the texture a bit. Color burn, linear burn. So there are different modes that Adobe Photoshop has set for us that it thinks that might be useful, but we can use a completely custom route, which is what I like to do. So I click on this and I hold Alt while I'm slowly dragging it away. So I'm separating it. I'm separating these triangles, yeah. Now you can see nothing is happening so far, but if I further move in, you can see some textures coming out. Same for here, like you can see. So on the wider side of things, I just move a bit up here, like so. I also like to see a bit more dark under the thing, so I'm gonna further move this there to get more textures out. And now this looks like it's a part of the canvas itself. It's a part of the canvas itself. So texture is important, but at the same time you must realize that all of these layers should interact with each other in a certain way. So that is why this. And now next step would be to find another asset which I have downloaded here. It was called Electric Brain. So I open this up, as you can see here. This is a ready-made vector. Sometimes I need to create my own vector, sometimes I just copy paste. For the sake of this class, I just felt like maybe it's better to simply copy paste and work with what I have. So for example, here we have a group of layers. I double click inside, and now I can separate these out. Or I can simply press Y and I can select all the colors, I mean all the objects in the same color, which is nice. So I'm just gonna take this. I'm gonna create a group around it. I'm gonna take this one, Command C, and I drop it in this one, Command V. I hold my Alt while I'm scaling it up. Don't worry about the colors now, because it's going to be different by the time you're done with it. So this is first block. Why am I separating it? Because I need to interact with this color and the canvas. At the same time, I want to have some overlay. So I come to this layer, take this part, Command C. I come to this, Command V, small objects, yes. Let's say they're approximately the same. That's good. And now, there's no worry about this color. We can simply double click on this small icon. You can see this. If I double click on it, it just opens an editable format of that. So I just select everything and I can change the color here, or I could have also done this in Photoshop. I Command S, I saved it and I exited it out, and here it is in the black. Or in the same way, other way should be just pressing Command U. Wait, it's not very intuitive. If I just press, okay, just going with the hue and coloration. I just dropped the lightness. So this is so far. And now I start playing with the blending modes. Exactly what we did with the art brush. We wanted it to blend correctly, and so this is what we did. So now we do the same for this, but wait a minute. Before I do anything, I want to make sure that these two are aligned in the way I want them to work. So if you remember, the creative side was the one with colors, and the functional side was the one with the circuitry and that stuff. So I'm separating them out like so. And now I go with the blending mode. So probably there are a couple of blending modes available, as you can see here. I just go through them, and at the same time you can also drop the opacity. If you feel like something is good, but you can drop the opacity to make it even better. So in this case, I'm just going to go with linear light maybe. Drop the opacity a bit more. And with this same. So this I'm going to put on overlay mode because it gives a bit of darkness without taking much. So in this case, now I want to create some depth in this little piece of grain. For that, I'm just going to double click on the layer. I'm going to click on inner shadow. As you can see, it started to do something there. The blending mode here is multiply. I usually go on overlay and I increase the distance. Whoops. This is the angle of light. So 90-degree means the light is falling from the top, which is exactly what we want. So we try to increase in such a way that there is a bit of depth. You can see that. We can increase or decrease the opacity to see what fits better. Why does it keep going back there? 90. That should not be happening. Okay, never mind. So for example, I want to add some depth to this layer. I simply duplicate the layer by pressing Command J, and I just try to erase parts of it manually. So for example, I can create a mask layer, and I can choose a brush with as you can see here, the default is black and white. Black means everything will be transparent, whereas white means everything will be opaque. As you can see, I'm slowly starting to remove them. You can also control the opacity of your brush. So by just pressing a number. So if I press 3, it's set at 30% opacity. So for example, I press 2, now there we go. And now this layer is a separate layer which I want to blend further. So probably I'm gonna drop it as multiply, but drop the opacity quite less. So it starts to give it a bit of definition, a bit of depth. And now, what I want to do here in this side is to bring out some gears that I was thinking. So I'm going to I'm going to go back to the resources. Um, yeah, and this. So in this case, I chose a ring which was made already in very high definition, and this is a vector format, so I can scale it up nicely. I'm going to go with the silver ring, but until I get to the ring, I have to double click, triple click to the object itself. Now you can see that I can only select the ring. I press Command C. I come back to the Photoshop. I press Command V, and the ring is created. I just hold the option to scale it up, and I try to set it up right across like so. And now the ring is done, but there is a problem because there is no definition to the insides. The ring will always cast some kind of shadows. So for that, I have to create another layer under it. I transform the selection because it's much easier. So I just go like so. By the way, these little dotted lines that you see, which are animated, this means you can select any part of the raster graphic. And now I create a layer, a new layer. I fill it up with black, and I decrease the fill of it. What's the point with fill? Because I can still add effects to this layer while the layer itself is completely transparent. So check this out. So if I come on inner shadows and I say size further, sorry about that. So increase the choke amount. Choke amount is the actual area of effect around it. So I increase the distance, I increase the choke amount a bit, so the area around gets started to get darker further. I can drop the size a bit, so it gives a little feeling of as if it's coming out in 3D, as you can see. Again, it's all about having a little balance in what you're doing, and everything should just follow according to plans. As you can see, it's not well aligned, so I need to make sure that it's aligned to the edges of the circular frame. And now, let's drop the main objects. The main objects I chose are, um, there was a nib, the fountain pen, but I'm not able to find it. Hold on a sec. What the heck is that? Yeah, this is the one. So I chose this vector because I want this object to represent designer aspect of things. But if I take it out, as you can see, there's a little shadow here which I need to get rid of. We'll be creating our shadows inside Photoshop, so I'm going to remove this. I'm going to copy it, drop it in Photoshop, like so. I'm going to increase the size of this. Like so. And this should be inside the group, inside the mask area, so it doesn't, and these layers should be behind. so it doesn't get outside the, oops, where this object. As you can see, there's a little part coming out. That is what I need to hide. So in that case, I'll just drop it here. As you can see, this little arrow, it suggests that this is all a part of this mask here. But right now the order is not good, so I'm just going to up it. I need to remove this from the group, and all of this should be below it. There we go. Now sometimes you create layers and they start giving issues because you cannot select anything under them. So in that case you can simply lock the layer, and now you can interact with the layers under it. For example, now I want this to have strong shadows, so I want to, oops, I want to double click on the layer so I can reach the effects. I click on drop shadows, and I can simply start moving the shadows, but it won't be on overlay, it will be on multiply. So it creates a strong effect on its on the actual canvas, because this is the mix of texture and the objects that I was talking about. Okay. And the other one was a brush. So let's see if I can find that. I'm gonna just remove what I'm not using anymore. Luxury vintage. Stick sprite sheet. No. Yeah, this is no, not this either. Click brush set. Or maybe this one was better. There was another brush that I mean another pen that I picked up, which was interesting. We can also put both to see how one feels with the other one. Okay, I'm just gonna hide this one for now and just work on the, come on, Victor Confen. Oops, really didn't download it. Just give me a second, guys. There's a specific brush that I'm looking for, which gives it a feeling of just like the pen, what we are trying to do. So, just looking for that piece. Next page. Come on. Yeah, okay. This is stationery assortment. There we go. Update. So this is the brush I was talking about, this one. I'm just going to capture this brush and copy paste there. Look, it's so small, but you can always scale it up nicely because it's vector, and that is the beauty of working with vector images. You can really scale it up without losing any qualities. So something has happened. Like so. As you can see, it's taking place a bit. I can drop the opacity a bit further. And now let's drop some gears. So 3D cogs. This is also what I was thinking about when you add to the function side of the brain. So let's say we have these gears. We can take this, Command J, and create a duplicate of it. So it's basically, it's going to act like a mask for this layer. There are too many layers, I need to turn some off. Okay, this and this. Remember the rule I said, you always group them together. So now you know they're in together in a group, and now I simply press Command Option G, and everything is grouped within that. This one should have full opacity, and the gears can be a little like so. Now I can turn on these. I resize them a bit. Maybe it's time to change their colors because suddenly I feel like the white might look very nice on these, which I'm right. Yeah. So it's like acting like a little glass, and on glass of that, on that surface of glass, we have some etchings, and that is the etchings of the brain. But for that to be much more shown, I need to drop the brightness of these gears. So I'm gonna just decrease the lightness, as you can see. So it feels like it's just under it, like so. These etchings, they can also be more interesting if I add a bit of glow to them. So that will be like, I just double click on the layers again, I add outer glow, and they can have a bit of effect but not too strong. Remember, less is powerful, less is more. So it should just feel like, you can always go into details and you can just check if it feels it has an, this is too much. Now if I go back somewhere around this line, and you can also add some drop shadow to further solidify the point. So I decrease the size, I can drag the handles like that, and I can increase blur a bit because light will be a bit diffused by the time it hits those gears, and also play with the opacity a bit like that. So slowly and easy our composition is starting to come in place, but there are some areas, like for example this is too sharp, this should just not be in this way, or maybe this paint should be within the area of the brain itself. I think that's a better idea than to, hold on a sec. So in that case I'm just going to contain this paint area within the boundaries of the brain itself. Just making sure it's covered everything. Yeah. the easiest way to do this is to select the layer. For example, this is the brain layer. I hold command while I click on it. It becomes like marching ant tool. This is how it's called. And then I go to the paint layer, which is this one, and I just click the mask here. And it just removes everything else which was away from the things. So for example, now we have a bit of paint contained within this side and a bit of gears on this side. So far so good. But this pen is still coming out of the mask and I have to put it back. So like so. Oh. But now the order is different. Now we have this layer on the top and they should all go behind them. So for that I take this group. Should be above, like so. And I still need to work on the hiding the parts. So for that, I simply click on the canvas size, like remember, and it starts to show like an ant, marching ant. I come on the pen. Was it this one? No, this one. Yeah. I just click on the mask again, and now everything will be cut short right there. However, now I'm seeing a bit of problem. The problem is that, remember this layer, this layer, in fact, it's starting to show kind of weirdness as the pen is being hit by this strong band of black, which is not very pleasant. So I'll remove that for now, and we'll work around it a bit later. Now I need to add a bit of brush here, which was the object in this case. I'll just close this one. I'll copy it and I'll paste it here. And again, as you can see, this part is coming out. To cut that out, I can simply hold command while I click on the shape, and I just press the mask. So it's done. There are multiple ways in which you can do certain things. A tool is just a tool. You have to remember that. There are multiple ways of doing it, through shortcuts, through layers and menus and items, but you just have to know what you are looking for. What are you after, in fact? So I double click this because I need to, okay, I need to add some drop shadow here. So it feels like it's being dropped from the top. I'm going to increase the opacity, increase the size of it, so it just softly falls over it, like so. And now we need to fit these all things together. Now we start to add spices, we need to start to add some colors, some surprise elements, things like those. So this is the basic composition that we have right now. But the more we work on it, the further we can add effects and values to them. So for example, this clash between the logical side and the artistic side can be well depicted by other ways. So I got some electric lightning, for example, like so, and you can simply pick one until it's okay. There are too many, so I'll just take this Command C. I'll drop it here, and now you see there is a little lightning bolt that you can add to your composition, and that adds a bit of interest to your portfolios. Now, what's happening right now is, hold on a sec. So I superimpose this in a way that it feels like it's a part of the image and it makes more sense. And as you can see right now, there is a clear blue which which is surrounded by this ugly black, what do? We just change the blending mode to screen. The way the layer blends, I keep coming back to it again and again, but it's very important for you to consider the layers like just like some sort of transparent glass sheets that you can work with. I can also duplicate this thing. I can make it smaller, so it adds a bit of balance to the image, like so. Like I said, balance is everything, and also you have to really take care of the bits. So for example, I just don't leave it like this. Sometimes I create a mask layer, and I come with the brush tool, and I really mask this side area and this part out, so it doesn't look like it just superimposed there, but it's a part of the object itself, as you can see. Now, because of this small shape, it feels like it's being radiated out from the nib. The same has to be done here. So I simply create another layer. I mask this portion out a bit. Small things, but they go a long way. So just so that it feels more natural. And now this suddenly starts to feel better. Other thing I'll do is to add a bit of glowing, further glowing, but that is not needed right now. So I have a couple of other things that I want to add as a texture. One was white canvas, ornamental frame. I found this interesting shape while I was browsing for textures, and I found this, which I found it could work nicely for the organic side of things. So I take this. Wait, what? Didn't copy everything. Okay, Command C, Command V. Still no. Okay, weird. So I take this entire object and I copy paste it here. Now it's coming, everything. And this, I want to add to give it just a bit of texture overall, because right now everything is looking very blunt. So first of all, the order is very important, so I go drop it back. And now I simply change the blending modes. So I can again select the layers, start to blend the layers better. As you can see, the effects on this. I just want to have this pattern on this side of the brain. That's it. So for that, first I need to make sure that it's blending correctly. And mostly I'm eyeballing it because there is no set number or rule that can make it feel better. It's just that you have to eyeball it and see what works. So probably I'm also going to have to increase the lightness of this a bit. And at the same time, if you remember the trick about using the shape, so for example, the shape. See, at this point, I'll say one good practice would be to start naming your layers. Then you know exactly what you're looking at, and you won't do the same mistake like me. So for example, this layer, yeah. I click on it, I hold command, I click on it, now it's like a marching ant here, and now I simply come back to the layer which I was working on, which is, I wonder which is it. No, no. Yeah, this one. And I simply click the mask. There we go. And now you can see we have two portions. One is with the little floral engagement, which is more like the creative side of the brain, which is more in line with how creative you are, the breaking the rules that you want to do. And the other side is more mechanical side, where you have all the work in progress and all the logical things that you must take care of. And now, I don't like the blending mode of this, so I'm going to change it to overlay maybe, so it doesn't come off so strong. Overlay, and also drop the opacity. So it just feels like it's there. It's not that evident. And the same goes with this one too. So probably I'm gonna just drop the opacity enough so it feels like it's there, but it's not really. This one can also go less into opacity. It's too strong. Like so. And now suddenly you can start seeing that this whole form is coming together. I'm not very happy with the shape of brain. Possibly this can change into something different. Maybe adding a bit of color to the canvas will do some trick. So let's look for that canvas. Um, yeah, something else I wanted to add is like you can add, so like this image I found, and I like it because I can add a bit of glow to the entire field. So for example, if I just resize it like so, I bring it all the way up to the top and I start blending the layers. So, and you can see that it's giving me different effects. The best way to do it is do it manually. So I just do it like so. First you see which is the closest fit to what you want to create. Probably that is too strong. No, that is too strong. Okay, let's see this one. And we start playing with the blending mode. So we start to play with shrinking it down, or this side, no, for sure. We keep increasing it and we go there. At the same time, you can see the colors are a little off because this is more like orange and yellow. So we need to make it desaturated. For that, we just press Command U. The same pop-up comes in. I just increase it. I just drop the saturation to 0. And now again, we play with the blending mode. So we come to, we see what looks good overall. That is bad. Oof. Okay, we won't do it right now. Let me find some other textures that I have prepared for coloring up the parts of the inner frame. This was the watercolor pattern that I was looking at. So I really like the yellow because it goes nicely with everything, but having two colors like this also goes better because we have duality here, and maybe this might work better. So I just drop it here. And I start moving it under all the layers. As you can see, sometimes it looks nicer on above layers. So for example, I can play with the blending mode here. So just press Shift plus, Shift minus, and suddenly I start to see what's going on. As you can see, it is starting to show some really crazy effects here, or overall. Let's see in the details. Okay, let's say I'm happy with this. Yeah, okay, but no, it's taking away some colors from above. So probably this is good enough. Yes, multiply is good. This is what I was thinking of. So now we have a certain layer color that is adding texture and colors to the plain blank canvas that we had earlier. Now we need to cut it off. As you can see, there are some parts coming out. Again, the situation is simple. I hold command and click on the ellipse, which was the main shape where we started from, and I come and I find this layer where I was working, and I just press the mask, and it automatically masks everything out. Okay, and now we need to add some depth to the entire thing. How do we do that? If we consider that light is coming from the top, so consider the light is coming from the top and it's casting shadows, then we need a little bit of shadow here in the top area, and that can be achieved easily by coming back to this layer but changing the blending mode. So probably no, wait a minute, normal inner shadows, yeah, that was a problem here. Increase the size of it, decrease the choke size, maybe like so. Okay, and I simply play with the opacity now, you see. So I have that shadow, and at the same time I create another mask, and I start to erase the parts of these sides, because shadows can't be formed like this, it has to still follow physics. So I remove those parts here, but it's not removing. In that case I'll have to rasterize the layer, rasterize layer style, and we're good. And now it's working. So as you can see, I'm slowly removing, I'm not rushing into it, I'm slowly removing all the shadows. At the same time I can drop the opacity, so this thing can be less redundant, like so. Also, I feel that these blue, they are kind of clashing into the frame, so I'm just gonna color them all white, because, oh wait a minute, what happened? Good thing is that they are all vectors, so if I come here, I press V or Y. What happened here? Okay, this is getting tricky. So in that case, I'll just go and say edit, edit colors. What? Yeah, okay. Edit colors, convert to grayscale, and that's it. And I press Command S, Command W, I'm out of there. And boom, it's all white. Okay. So now we have this composition where we have the pen and we have the brush, but the brush is looking very simple, very plain, because this one has sparks, but this one is just randomly sitting there. Probably we need to add some paint swags or some sort of thing. So I was thinking to add this. If I go here, I don't know if this is the one, no. Oh yeah, and these light effects were to add further to the drama, but I didn't use them so far. Also, sometimes you come across these vectors, they have very different abstract shapes. So for example, I really like this cage that was there. So I just copy pasted this one here. It provides an element of interest which can be simply subduedly put above it, you know, like so. And I can increase the lightness of it so it looks like so, and just play with the opacity a bit. And now we have some textures, and that I want to find. Where are they? Yeah, this one's. So as you can see here, this is another set of vector that I found on internet, and I really like this one, for example. It adds a lot of dimension and aspect. Like for example, if I Command C this, Command V, like so. Okay. I hold shift, so. Okay. Now something is very off. It's not really correct. The way I'm imagining it as is the fact that this paint is swirling around the brush. In order to do that, I need to get rid of this middle section. So I do that by creating a mask again. This time I'm simply going to use a trick. I'm going to select this layer. I'm going to come to this layer and I'm just going to press, oops, like so. I told you that black means full transparency, white means nothing can be seen. So now I can start painting over it. So I come here, I select the mask and I start painting over the brush. How do I do that? It's by simply I can play with the opacity a bit so it looks like it's just merging softly, so as to speak. But wait, I don't want to have this one shown because they're from a different strain. So 0. I paint over this, which is not needed. I also paint over this. Oh, what's happening here? It's not normal. Like so. At the same time, I want to create certain feel like the brush has been attached to the paint at some point. But wait a minute, first I need to take care of this because as you can see there's a small gap and that is not good. So I double click here, I come to this place and I see what's going on. Okay, I just move it inside. I just move it like so. Like so, and I press Command S, I get out. And now it's fixed here, as you can see. Alright. And now, I start to add a bit more over the flare, over the paintbrush itself. So, I come here, I start adding some paints here. Again, this is just a way of doing it. I'm sure that there are so many better ways of doing it. It's just we do it like so, just to give it like it's being dipped. And at the same time I can rasterize everything and I can start wrapping it, warping. So and at the same time this is too harsh the way it's mixing in there, so I'm simply going to take the eraser tool and slowly, by lowering the opacity, I'm going to remove, so it's very even the way it comes in, like so. I'm not very happy with the way it looks. It can still be done better. If you can find better assets, that would be something to look out for. So I can start playing with the blending mode and see which works better. Like, I like this. Let's see this, what works better with him. I like this too. It's like a little watercolor wash. Ah, not bad. But didn't blend in too much. there might be some other way to do it. Armor. Okay. But I'm not digging it overall. It can be better. I think I need to find better assets on this. Sorry about that. It needs to be gone. Um, yeah, I need to add some paint slab onto it. Paint splatter, something that feels like this brush is wet, and it's for that I can also do a new layer, and I can start painting myself. So I pick up color samples from here, for example. Let's say this. We press B. Then we pick another color sample, which is this. We start painting it. We pick another color sample, maybe this. We start painting it. We pick another color sample, maybe this blue, and we start painting it. So it feels like it's mixed. And now we simply take this and we click on this layer and we create a shape. And we now create a mask about it. And now this can be blended nicely. How we click on it and we start blending the layers. Oops, not that bad. There are some banding issues which are coming in. But I think somehow in these lines. Okay. Where was that layer? This layer. Done. Okay. So now this feels like the paintbrush has been wet a bit in the colors. In those colors I can decrease the opacity to make it feel it's more set, like so. Also I need to erase parts of that which is not in the sync. Okay. I feel that this grid itself is causing a bit of clutter, so I'm going to drop it under the pen and the brush. That looks nicer somehow. And the next step should be potentially to change the shape of the brain, the way it's coming off, or to change the orientation, maybe how it looks. So, and before that, you also need to make sure that the background itself is complementing the entire show. So for example, I pick up this simple color, this background. And I blur it off. Okay. Maybe this is not so important to keep anymore. I can drop the opacity. Okay. And now we create another shadow for this. So this is almost coming to an end. Sorry for taking so long. But just wanted to quickly share what exactly is done on my end of things. Oops. What happened? Create a new layer. Create a shadow. We blur it. And you can also change the layer blending mode to overlay maybe, so it doesn't look that bad. I don't still feel like the size of the brains are nice. If I drop it. Yeah, the size, this is too strong. But anyway, this is the badge that we created in this session. I don't want to take up all the time because it's almost an hour, I guess. So I do hope that you got certain things out of it. Maybe you enjoy the process. Maybe you want to have some questions. Just shoot at me and we can talk about it. But this is not final. This can be further improved and it can be um, taken more care of, provided, like for example, I don't like the shapes. They're too sharp, too cut. If I have to have more time, I'll probably play with the shape and the sharpness of it. I like to blend these two sides even more to play with it. But technically, yes, this is the idea. You start creating a concept around what exactly is the center of attraction. For us, it was the designer session, like we are trying to create something, and at the same time, there's a war between the artistic side and the functional side, and this is what we are trying to represent through the POAP. I hope it was entertaining. I hope I hope that. I'll give it to Church to take it from here.
Big hands are red, everyone. That was amazing. Did anyone have some questions for it that may not have touched on during his presentation? Anything they would like to ask, learn from him? Open floor. Awesome, guys. Well, just a reminder: there's a form in the radio hotline there. If you fill that out, that'll let you claim the POAP that Rit has just created. I've also taken a snapshot of everyone present here, so I'll make sure to follow up with everyone just to make sure you get that form in so you can get that really, really cool POAP. Anyone want to share their thoughts, feedback to Rit on the process? Stu, Jono, Tyler, Two-Tone?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've had the pleasure of seeing Rit work before, and it's amazing. You know, I'm not artistic, and I look at what he does, and I sit back in awe and just watch and appreciate. So I haven't got any technical questions, but I look forward to getting my Pro app, and I think we're fortunate to have Rit as part of the Alchemist team.
Yeah, I mean that was really amazing, Rit. The speed and proficiency with which you put that together. I was admittedly looking away for part of the call in the background, and I sort of looked up when you got the brush and the purple lighting going on the brain, and it's sort of just it's crazy to see what you can do when you were given free reign.
Absolutely, and this is something you don't enjoy when you're creating user interfaces because there it's a completely different story. You have to be extremely strict with the function. Uh, Form follows function in a way. So their designs are mostly created to further assist the functional side of the entire project. And here it's a bit different because here I need to get your attention. I need to grab your attention by contrast, by colors, by shapes, by anything that can get your attention and get it moving. So right now what we did was in a very short time, but sometimes if you really create some good badges, they take some good amount of time. So for example, if I'm sure most of you have seen it, but I'm still going to quickly go through some of the good ones that I have done over time. So, for example, no, wait, not this. There was mm, copper. Yeah, this, for example. So the same process that I showed you right now is the same process that I went with this one as well. But as you can see, there are more layers. There are more work going on.
Rit, I got no screen, so I can't see what you're talking about.
Oh, hang on one sec, I can bring that back.
Thanks.
Is it good now? Okay. Can anyone see? Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
got.
okay, so this was another POAP that I did, which was for fish block. So this is their logo, this fish, and you already know our logo, Alchemist logo. So basically, I was trying to create elements around it when we know that a natural habitat for the fish is water. But how can we create in our alchemic theme? So that was the whole challenge here. And also we have to create two versions of the badges. One was for the questions for the attendees who attended the um, AMA, and the other one was for the questions that were selected to be heard in those sessions. So, for example, everything is separate here. The reef, the coral reefs, the blendings, and they all come together. Even for example, even the splashes, if I can take them away, you know. So you always have to keep playing with the layers. See what can be done. Like everything is separate here. Like the layers behind, the layers ahead. Like you can clearly see if I disassemble everything. Even this layer, which kind of forms the shape of the fish, as if it's propelling forward, it's all created using the warp tool. So what I'm saying is that the layers are the most powerful tools of Photoshop. Like you can create so many things if you're just careful about how you're placing the layers and how each layer is blending with the other layer. So that is very important. Like for example, if I look at this badge, I can simply create a little layer that can have, let's say, like a little shiny thingy on top. Like for example, if I go on B, I can simply create like this. I can increase the lightness of it. I can warp it. To just give it a bit of dimension. That is all what's needed. Like so. And I just drop the opacity, or I'll try to play further with this. You can further warp it. Make it more thin. And this can be blended better with warp again. And drop the opacity a bit more. So again, if I turn the visibility of this layer off and on, you see just a bit, but it adds a bit of depth. And when you zoom out completely, it gives even more prominence, as you can see. So technically, this is all what you have to see and look out for. The way the light is acting, what is the texture about, what is the exact element you're creating, and what is the idea behind, because idea is the most important factor here in all these cases. Anything can be improved. It's all a process. There is no finish point because you can always come back to any of the work that you have done and make it far more better. But sometimes you have to have this nice balance of, okay, this is good, but I also need to deliver because I cannot be I cannot be chasing perfection all the time because then it becomes very difficult to meet the deadlines. And I always fall in this trap. So I always like to make things so pretty that sometimes I always fall in this trap of not being able to deliver in time, and it's a big problem. So you always have to think as a designer what just works. Again, the same sides. What is functional and what is creative, and you need to find a nice mixed balance about it. So yeah, that's my side of things. I'll leave it to you, Church now.
Awesome. Well, I don't think there's anything that I can say to add to the impressive level of design you've got there, Rit. Again, I'm just sort of echoing what Stu was saying earlier. We're very, very lucky to have you on the team and here to share this level of process with us. Really appreciate you doing this and taking the time to show everyone.
I'm super glad that everyone had a good time, and that's what matters the most. Even if we learn a couple of things here and there, it's not a race. That's all I'm trying to say. It's all about getting interest into something and just following it in baby steps. That's all. So I never claim to be the master. I just know what I'm knowing and just try to apply it in the most efficient way possible. So tool is just a tool. Just remember that. There is no hard and fast rule for being creative or anything. You just have to visualize it first, see the final product in your head, and then try to work towards it. That's the only thing I can say here.
Awesome, Red. Well, again, thanks for coming up to do this. Everyone, if you take the last second to sort of fill out that POAP form if you haven't, and we'll make sure to get those POAPs out to you. Other than that, thanks for coming, everyone. Really appreciate it. It was a great turnout.
Thanks, Church.
All right, guys, have a great evening ahead. Bye bye.
Take care, Rhett.
Thanks, Red.